One of the more important tools that you're going to see in the new Packet Tracer 7.0 is the environmental feature. Environmental controls really add to the power of an IOE sensor, actuator, and device. So if we look at this in physical mode, you have the Environment tab. And what's important about the Environment tab and the Container tab is that each container has its own environment. Now in Packet Tracer 6.2, 6.3, we had some built-in containers. We had the inner city, the home city, the office building, and the wiring closet. Well, now you can go ahead and add whatever generic container you would like. So you notice that I've added those in there. The thing about the containers and the environment is that each of those containers has its own environment. Now what that means is that the home city, which we know would be much larger, have a higher elevation and everything else, the weather would change quite slowly as far as the temperature goes, but we might get heat from an office building, therefore increasing the temperature outside in the home city. This is what we call the transference between containers. And IOE devices, of course, can sense this and maybe make a better environment or a better world by making things more efficient. So we've built the environment piece into the containers, and this is really the magic of seeing how an IOE device works. So let's go ahead and look at how these things work. So if I click on the Environment tab inside of physical mode, I can then use the pull down menu in order to go to the particular container I want to go to. So in this case we're just looking at the inner city, but we could go to the home city, we could go to the corporate office, or go to the generic container, whichever. We can get to any of those containers environments very easily. Once we get in there, let's go ahead and look at the different environment categories that we've created. These environments include, of course, the Earth Physicals features. This would be elevation and some other items. You can open any of these features up and look at what we have created inside there. The different gases of the atmosphere, gravity. So as you go up in elevation, the gravity becomes less. You can make adjustments there. The different light ideas, which I've expanded. You can see on the right hand side all the different type of light that's being measured inside the environment. We have other categories: temperatures, water, and wind. Again, the best way to look at each of these, go ahead and open up a sample file, create some containers, and then go ahead and look at the different items that are being measured by the IOE devices, or that you can use inside your container to create a IOE environment for your students to learn how to use them. So then if we look into the edit mode of the environment, excuse me, you're going to see that there are many controls. You can control the amount of time that is being run from hours to minutes. You can scale it so you can make a day go very fast. The default right now in the keyframes, now a keyframe hangs on to a particular environment as it changes to a particular time. You come default wise with 4 keyframes, but you can add different keyframes to create different environments. You could create a storm, for example, in the middle of the day. You can advance these quickly by increasing the rate in the time increment. You can do a bunch of different items by adding or subtracting keyframes, or by creating your own environment, completely new environment, or just go with the defaults. Again, just using the default, you'll watch the timer run. You can turn it off, you can pause it, so that if there's a particular environment that you want to happen all the time to see a sensor work, you can do that with your environmental controls. The other powerful thing is that you can leave notes inside of the environment tool. So let's say, for example, you want to give directions to your students. You could, in this case, we're in the inner city, you could go right here and type in what to do to a keyframe, or come down into edit mode and make changes to energy here to activate a particular sensor. You could leave directions inside the environmental nodes in this area for the students to see. Notice you can either show these notes, so they could be notes to yourself, or you can show or not show them, not show them so they're notes to yourself on what you did, or leave a note for the students to follow directions for. So it's very, very important. Nice little tool to have inside there. You can also export the file or import a new environment. So you could create environments ahead of time, save them onto your desktop, and then upload them into the Packet Tracer files you're creating. So maybe you have a favorite environment that you really enjoyed, a particular activity you created. You could then save those and then import them into other files. The nice thing about anything you do in the environment, whatever you do to that environment inside a particular file, you save that file and you transfer that file, all the environmental changes will go with the Packet Tracer file, which makes it very, very cool. Again, in edit mode, you get to you can merge some of the keyframes, which again, if you make a bunch of different keyframes, you want to put more of them together, you can do that. You can do different items in the custom environment. You can again create these things as we're talking about. This is the different menu item that shows you how you can do that. Once again, I would recommend highly use your sample files to create some of this. You can change your, I also forgot to mention, you can change between metric and imperial formulas so that you have all these different changes in your environment that you can make so that that will show up for your students in the units that they're used to working in. So a very, very important neat tool for you to use. One of the other nice things, because we know that IOE involves big data, you can actually show charts. So you could look at particular temperature changes or sunlight changes and follow it on a chart with the date and time. Another great tool inside the environment. So in summary, the environment was designed to be used with the IOE sensors and devices. Without this environment changing, it would be very hard to show how those sensors can actually react to a device and then also be transferred over a network. The environmental control is brand new to Packet Tracer, and so therefore it will take you a little bit more time to learn how to use it. But once you do learn how to use it, you will really have fun with it. The controls have an individual effect on each container, but at the same time it will have transference to between containers so that you can show that if you do one thing, you heat something up one area, it also has an effect across multiple areas. You have 8 major categories and then sub-values inside of those. You have the amazing amount of adjustability, so you can create and make your own environments, save them, and then always upload them. And then finally, of course, you can chart functions, so therefore you get the idea of how to use big data and get that piece involved inside a Packet Tracer too. Again, fantastic tool. Open up your sample files, make a few environments, play with it, look at how it has an effect on your temperature sensor or water level sensor, and have fun with that.